Hello readers, we're going to be reading today and doing session 9, Comparing Themes in Fantasy and History. So we're reading fantasy, but we can see the same themes that we've been talking about appear in other genres as well. So this made me wonder if perhaps some of these themes are also big themes in the world too. So I thought we might do an inquiry today to explore this. So readers, today I want to teach you that knowledgeable readers assume that some themes are so important, so universal, that they appear in more than one book, and across history as well. So sophisticated readers then are alert for those themes, and they bring their knowledge of history to what they're reading and compare how those themes play out. So we've done a lot of studying history this year in social studies. Many of you have also read a lot of historical fictional reading. Some of the ones that I know that a lot of you have been reading, like the book Resistance. That one was going around a lot this year. Also, you all love those I Survived books, and all of those take place during parts of history. Those are historical reading. Some of you have also been reading about historical periods in your Who Was books, if you're reading books about people from the past. So what I'm saying then is that you know a lot about historical characters, just as you know a lot about the fictional ones that you're studying now. So we're going to take a minute and look at George Washington, because I picked him because I figured all of us know who he is. We've studied him a lot this year. So when we talk about George Washington, what was his accomplishment? Well, we know he was a war hero during the American Revolution, and we're going to focus just on that time period for him, not when he went on to be the president. So what quest was he on? Well, he wanted to win the war for the Patriots. What dragons did they face? Well, his army had a lot of lack of supplies. He had the untrained army. They were against the British forces that were a very paid and trained military force. They had a very long war that they were fighting, a lot of hardships throughout that very long war, and then they faced they had a lot of casualties that happened. So thinking about that and thinking about George Washington, here are some common universal themes. And I want you to think about these for a minute. So some themes that you might see in books and in history is that kids have to grow up fast in times of trouble. Even ordinary people or minor characters can affect events. Ordinary people can be capable of great courage. When people band together, they can build power to change. And where there is power, there's also resistance. And humans are capable of great evil to each other and great goodness. So what we've done so far is remind ourselves of some of these themes that appeared again and again in reading, but also throughout history. So we're going to focus on one and decide which one do we see mostly, which one can pertain mostly to George Washington. I'm going to narrow down my choice, and I'm going to focus on where there is power, there is also resistance, because I feel like that fits for George Washington. But now I want to compare how that theme plays out in my book and in history. So not only thinking about George Washington, but also thinking about how it plays out in the book A Wrinkle in Time. So where there is power, there's also resistance. Well, in A Wrinkle in Time, Meg has to battle the Black Thing, or It, for her brother. And the harder that It fought to keep Charles Wallace in his power, the harder that Meg fought. So she was resisting. There was a great power. The Black Thing was very powerful, but the harder it fought, the harder she fought to resist it. So this also reminds me of George Washington and his troops. They were finding the strength during Valley Forge. It was a cold, hard winter. Many men died from starvation and cold. That was the power they were up against. That was very hard. But because of that, they became more determined to finish the war for their independence. So those hardships that they came across, that power, those hardships, they fought even harder to be able to win. So what's so beautiful about the work that we just did is it reminds us that we can learn from characters in books, just as we can learn from characters in history and in our lives. All of these sources are sources of strength for us. Today and every day when we're reading, remember that the comparisons you make and the patterns you see across books and history in your life, they matter. They can be sources of lessons and comfort and inspiration. Again, that's one of the things I love so much about reading is the things that it can teach us about life. And these are life lessons. These are books about people. And even though many of them are fantastical and made up, You can learn so much from the stories that you're reading and apply those things to your own life. And you can see examples of that throughout history. So what I want you guys to do today, don't forget to write the title of your book that you are reading. I want you to be thinking about those themes. What are some of those common themes that we're finding in our books? And look at that chart in the a couple slides ago to give you some jumping off. If you also have some other ones that you feel are really strong evidence or strong themes, use those too. But don't forget, you need to give me evidence to support those themes. So you can't just say, where there's power, there's also resistance. I need you to tell me what in the story is evidence of that in your story. So use the rest of this page here, this blank page, to fill out those themes and evidence for those themes. If you have any questions or need anything, just please let me know. Happy reading!